Gilded facades. The Grand Plaza. Hotel's ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers and the jewelry of Philadelphia's elite. The annual Children's Hospital charity auction was the social event of the season, where reputation and influence were as valuable as the millions pledged to good causes. Olivia Bennet adjusted her emerald gown, carefully designed to accommodate her 7-month pregnancy. At 32, she had established herself as a respected pediatric occupational therapist before marrying Marcus Bennet, whose family's investment firm managed billions. Their 3-year marriage had been picture-perfect on social media, but behind closed doors it had crumbled into something unrecognizable. "You're glowing tonight," whispered Harriet, Olivia's oldest friend and the hospital's development director. "The Lancaster table is asking for you. Apparently, their grandson might need your expertise when he's born." Olivia nodded gratefully. "I'll head over after I find Marcus. He disappeared 20 minutes ago." She navigated through the crowd, nodding and smiling at familiar faces. Her hand instinctively rested on her rounded belly as she felt a gentle kick. Despite everything, this baby represented hope. At the bar, she spotted Marcus's silver-streaked dark hair. At 45, he commanded attention with his tailored tuxedo and confident stance. What made Olivia's heart sink was the woman beside him, Vanessa Pierce, a 28-year-old lifestyle influencer whose carefully curated social media presence had recently featured suspicious glimpses of Marcus's vacation properties. Olivia had found the hotel receipts, the text messages, the duplicate charges. For 6 months, she had been gathering evidence while deciding her next steps. Tonight was supposed to be about the hospital, about the children she worked with daily. She approached the bar with practiced composure. "Marcus, the Lancasters are asking for us," she said quietly. Marcus turned, his expression hardening when he saw her. The subtle scent of expensive whiskey surrounded him. "Perfect timing, Olivia. Vanessa and I were just discussing her upcoming feature in Philadelphia magazine." "Congratulations," Olivia said evenly to Vanessa, whose perfectly contoured face betrayed a flash of discomfort. "Your dress is interesting," Vanessa replied, eyeing Olivia's pregnancy. "Maternity fashion is so challenging." Marcus laughed too loudly. "Indeed. Hardly the sleek image Bennet Capital wants to project, is it?" Several nearby conversations quieted. Olivia felt heat rising to her face, but maintained her dignified expression. "The auction is starting soon," she reminded him. Marcus drained his whiskey. "Actually, I have an announcement to make first." He gestured to a server for another drink. "Bennet Capital is increasing our donation tonight to $2 million. Applause rippled through the nearby guests. Olivia recognized the tactic, philanthropy as armor. "And," Marcus continued, his voice carrying further now, "I'd like to recognize Vanessa, whose social media campaign has brought tremendous attention to tonight's cause." More eyes turned their way. Olivia saw Harriet watching with concern from across the room. "My wife," Marcus said, his tone shifting, "has certainly been focused on family lately, perhaps too focused." He placed his hand on Vanessa's lower back. "While some of us still remember how to make meaningful contributions beyond reproduction." The silence was immediate. Shocked expressions surrounded them. Olivia felt something shift inside her, not the baby, but something calcified breaking away. She had endured months of private humiliation, but this public display crystallized her resolve. "Thank you for clarifying your priorities, Marcus," she said clearly. "I'm sure everyone appreciates your transparency." Without another word, she turned and walked toward the Lancasters' table, her head high despite the whispers erupting behind her. In her evening bag, her phone recorded everything, another piece of evidence for what would come next. Across the room, investment banker Thomas Whitfield observed the exchange with quiet disapproval. Recently returned to Philadelphia after years abroad, he recognized the toxic pattern all too well. His eyes followed Olivia's dignified retreat with newfound respect. Neither Marcus nor Vanessa noticed Harriet slipping a flash drive into Olivia's purse during a brief embrace, completing the exchange they had planned for weeks. The auction would begin in minutes. Olivia's performance as the devoted wife would continue for one final evening. By tomorrow, everything would change. Calculated betrayal. The morning after the charity auction, Olivia woke before sunrise in the guest bedroom of the Bennett mansion. She hadn't shared a bed with Marcus for months, though they maintained appearances for the household staff. Her phone buzzed with a text from Harriet. Files uploaded. Password sent separately. Are you sure about this? Olivia touched her stomach gently. Yes, she replied. Today, in the master bathroom, Marcus prepared for his day with practiced precision. His reflection showed no remorse for last night's performance, only calculation. Bennett Capital was finalizing a merger with Westbrook Financial, a conservative family firm that valued traditional appearances. His public humiliation of Olivia had been strategic. Divorce was messy, but if she left him, the prenuptial agreement would minimize his losses. Jenkins is bringing the car around at 8, he called through the door, knowing Olivia was within earshot. The board expects both of us at the announcement breakfast. I'll be ready, Olivia replied, her voice steady as she reviewed the contents of the flash drive on her laptop. 3 months of meticulous documentation spread before her. Bank statements showing millions diverted to shell companies, recordings of Marcus instructing subordinates to falsify reports, and intimate videos of him with Vanessa in their marital home, captured by security cameras he'd forgotten Olivia had access to. Most damning were the emails between Marcus and Richard Westbrook's son-in-law, detailing how they planned to force out the older Westbrook once the merger completed, replacing him with Vanessa's brother, Jonathan Pierce, whose investment firm was under SEC investigation. Olivia closed her laptop and dressed in a tailored maternity suit the color of steel. As a final touch, she fastened a diamond necklace Marcus had given her on their first anniversary, back when he still performed the role of devoted husband convincingly. The diamonds would soon serve a different purpose. At Vanessa's downtown penthouse, preparations of another kind were underway. She scrutinized the 200,000 followers who had watched her Charity Night Glam video, analyzing which sponsors had engaged. Her carefully crafted image as a philanthropist and wellness entrepreneur had gained significant traction since her association with Marcus began. The Westbrook breakfast is trending locally, her assistant noted, scrolling through analytics. Engagement is up 40% since people noticed you with Marcus last night. Vanessa smiled, applying another coat of lip gloss marketed by her biggest sponsor. Perfect timing. After today's announcement, we'll start the soft launch of our relationship. His divorce will be old news by summer. Her phone chimed with a message from Marcus. Meeting with lawyers after breakfast, everything proceeding as discussed. What neither Marcus nor Vanessa realized was that Olivia had been 10 steps ahead for months. As the heiress to a modest but respectable publishing company, she had resources beyond what her husband suspected. Her grandfather had taught her the value of patience and the power of information, lessons that had guided her methodical documentation of Marcus's indiscretions and financial crimes. The Bennett-Westbrook merger announcement breakfast was being held at the exclusive Haverford Club, where Philadelphia's business elite gathered for momentous occasions. Richard Westbrook, a principled 70-year-old with old-fashioned values, had insisted on meeting Olivia multiple times during negotiations, concerned about Marcus's reputation as a ruthless operator. At 7:55 a.m., Olivia entered the Bennett town car, exchanging polite greetings with Marcus as if the previous night hadn't happened. He was already on his phone, confirming details with Vanessa, who would arrive separately but prominently at the breakfast. "The Westbrooks are traditional people," Marcus reminded her, not looking up from his device. "Play your part one last time, and I'll make sure the settlement is generous." Olivia smiled for the first time that morning. "I've always understood my role perfectly, Marcus." As they drove toward the club, Olivia sent a single text to Harriet. "Execute." Within minutes, identical emails reached the personal accounts of every board member at both Bennett Capital and Westbrook Financial, every major business reporter in Philadelphia, and Richard Westbrook himself. The subject line read simply, "Bennett Westbrook. Merger. The complete picture." When they arrived at the Haverford Club, Olivia noticed the sudden vibration of phones throughout the room. Marcus, focused on greeting Richard Westbrook, remained oblivious to the shifting atmosphere until Richard's son whispered urgently in his ear. Across the room, Vanessa made her calculated entrance, wearing a dress that perfectly complemented Marcus's tie, a detail that would normally seem coincidental but now appeared damning in context. Olivia watched as Marcus's face drained of color when he checked his phone. His eyes shot to her, comprehension and fury dawning simultaneously. "What have you done?" he hissed, gripping her arm. She removed his hand calmly. "I've simply ensured transparency, darling. Isn't that what you value in business?" As reporters began arriving outside and board members huddled in shocked conversations, Olivia approached Richard Westbrook. "Mr. Westbrook," she said quietly, "I believe we should talk privately before the announcement." The elderly man nodded gravely, his eyes filled with disappointment but not surprise. "I always suspected," he said, glancing toward Marcus, who was now frantically calling his lawyers. "But I needed proof." "Now you have it," Olivia replied, her hand protective over her unborn child. "And so does everyone else." Behind them, Vanessa received a frantic call from her agent. Her major sponsors were already releasing statements distancing themselves from her. The carefully constructed facade was beginning to crumble, one corporate statement at a time. The reckoning. The Bennett-Westbrook merger breakfast dissolved into chaos within 30 minutes. Security escorted journalists from the premises, but it was too late. The story had exploded across financial news outlets and social media. Bennett scandal began trending nationally as excerpts from Olivia's evidence file circulated among increasingly wider audiences. In the Haverford Club's private conference room, Richard Westbrook sat with his legal team and Olivia, reviewing the full dossier she had compiled. His weathered face showed profound disappointment, but also grudging respect for her thoroughness. "Mrs. Bennett," he said, using her married name for what would likely be the last time, "this documentation suggests criminal financial misconduct beyond the personal indiscretions." Olivia nodded. "I've already provided copies to the SEC and the FBI. Their financial crimes divisions have had this information since 6 a.m. Outside, Marcus was surrounded by his increasingly concerned board members. The evidence was damning, not just of his affair, but of systematic fraud that put the entire firm at risk. The carefully edited recording of him discussing the plan to oust Richard Westbrook post-merger had already been played for the elder businessman. "You can't prove the authenticity of these recordings," Marcus insisted, though his usual confidence had evaporated. "This is clearly manipulation by my unstable wife." Board Chairman Gerald Winters removed his glasses wearily. "The SEC doesn't seem to share your doubts, Marcus. They've already issued a statement that trading of Bennett Capital shares is temporarily suspended pending investigation." Marcus's phone vibrated continuously with calls from panicked investors and furious clients. His carefully constructed empire was imploding in real time. Across town, Vanessa faced her own reckoning. Her apartment had become command central for crisis management as her publicity team worked desperately to salvage her brand. Her social media accounts were flooded with angry comments from followers who felt betrayed by her carefully crafted authenticity. Wellness advocates sleeping with a married man whose wife is pregnant. "You're finished," read one comment with thousands of likes. Her agent delivered the killing blow. "Luminosity Skincare is terminating your contract, effective immediately." Their statement cites irreconcilable differences with brand values of family and integrity. Vanessa collapsed onto her white leather sofa, mascara streaking down her face. Marcus promised he would handle everything cleanly. He said the timing was perfect. Her assistant, Jessica, who had witnessed Vanessa's calculated pursuit of Marcus from the beginning, set down her tablet. "They're saying his wife had surveillance. Cameras in their house. There are intimate videos being described in the financial documents." "Videos?" Vanessa whispered, her carefully constructed world truly crumbling now. Back at the Haverford Club, Olivia stood to leave the conference room. "Mr. Westbrook, I believe your legal team has everything they need. If you'll excuse me, I have an appointment with my divorce attorney." Richard Westbrook rose, offering a gesture of respect that spoke volumes. Miss Crawford," he said, reverting to her maiden name. "I'm sorry our family's association has been under these circumstances. Your grandfather was a man of integrity. He would be proud." The mention of her grandfather, who had built Crawford Publishing from nothing and taught Olivia the value of patience and principle, brought unexpected tears to her eyes. As she exited the club's side entrance to avoid the growing media presence, she nearly collided with Thomas Whitfield, the investment banker who had witnessed her humiliation the previous evening. "Ms. Crawford," he said, surprising her with the immediate use of her maiden name. "I saw what happened last night, and now, this." He gestured vaguely toward the commotion. "Are you all right?" Olivia appreciated his direct approach. "I'm better than I've been in a long time, actually. Though this isn't quite how I plan to spend my third trimester." Thomas smiled, a genuine expression rarely seen in their social circles. "I'm heading to my office. May I offer you a ride to your next appointment? The press is getting rather aggressive out front." Olivia hesitated only briefly before accepting. As they walked to his car, Thomas kept a respectful distance while ensuring she was shielded from prying eyes. "I worked with your grandfather once," he mentioned as they drove. "In London, during my early career. He spoke of you often, his brilliant granddaughter who could see through anyone's deception." For the first time that day, Olivia felt a weight lifting. The reckoning she had orchestrated was necessary but exhausting. Now came the rebuilding. "Sometimes seeing through deception isn't enough," she replied. "You have to decide what to do with that knowledge." Thomas nodded thoughtfully. "And you chose justice over comfort. That takes extraordinary courage." As they pulled up to her attorney's office building, Olivia felt her baby kick vigorously, as if in agreement. The reckoning was complete. What came next would be entirely on her terms. Fallen Kingdom. Within 72 hours of the failed merger breakfast, Marcus Bennett's carefully constructed world had completely unraveled. Bennett Capital's stock had plummeted 43% once trading resumed. The board had placed him on administrative leave pending investigation, a corporate euphemism for "you're finished." The FBI had executed search warrants at both his office and the Bennett mansion, carting away computers and financial records. Most devastating to Marcus was the freezing of his personal accounts by court order. The penthouse in New York, the villa in St. Barthélemy, the private jet, all suddenly inaccessible. His calls to former friends in high places went unanswered. The same business elite who had laughed at his cruel jokes days earlier now pretended they barely knew him. In a last desperate move, Marcus arrived uninvited at Vanessa's apartment, expecting the comfort and loyalty she had always shown when he delivered expensive gifts and promises of their future together. "You need to let me stay here until this blows over," he demanded, wheeling a designer suitcase into her foyer. "My accounts are temporarily restricted, but my lawyers are handling it." Vanessa stood in the living room, arms crossed, her expression uncharacteristically bare of makeup and warmth. "Your face is on every financial news channel, Marcus. They're calling it the biggest fraud case since Bernie Madoff." "It's all fabricated," he insisted, loosening his tie, the first sign of dishevelment in his usually impeccable appearance. "Olivia manipulated those recordings. The financial discrepancies were accounting errors that my CFO will explain." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Your CFO took a deal this morning. It's all over the news. He's testifying against you." Marcus paled, reaching for the bar cart to steady himself. This was information his lawyers hadn't shared. "That's impossible. Peters is completely loyal." "Was loyal," Vanessa corrected. "Before your wife sent evidence that you were planning to make him the scapegoat." She handed him her tablet, where an email from Marcus to his personal lawyer clearly indicated his intention to blame financial irregularities on his chief financial officer. The email had been part of Olivia's evidence package. "How did she get these?" Marcus whispered, genuine fear crossing his face for the first time. Vanessa retrieved the tablet. "Does it matter? My sponsors have dropped me. My follower count has crashed. I've lost everything I built over the last 5 years because I believed you when you said your marriage was over and the divorce was just a formality." She moved toward the door, opening it pointedly. "My PR team says my only chance at salvaging any career is a complete separation from you and a public apology to your wife. So you need to leave. Now." Marcus stared at her in disbelief. "After everything I've given you? The connections? The lifestyle? You're throwing me out when I need you?" "No," Vanessa replied coldly. "I'm doing exactly what you taught me, Marcus. Cutting losses when an investment turns toxic." The door closed behind him with finality. In the hallway, Marcus checked his phone. 17 missed calls from his attorney, none from friends or family. The kingdom he had built through manipulation and fraud had fallen completely, leaving him truly alone for the first time in his privileged life. Across town, Olivia sat in her new apartment, a secure building where her grandfather had maintained a pied-à-terre that had fortuitously remained in the family trust outside Marcus's reach. The space was modest compared to the Bennett mansion, but felt more like home than that showplace ever had. Her divorce attorney, Patricia Reeves, reviewed documents with her at the dining table. "The judge has granted the emergency petition to separate your assets from Marcus's, given the evidence of financial crimes. Your trust fund and personal inheritance remain untouched." Olivia nodded, feeling vindicated but exhausted. "And the house? Technically frozen with his other assets during investigation, but your personal belongings can be retrieved under supervision." Patricia hesitated. "There's something else. We've received 3 separate offers for your story. A book deal, a documentary, and a feature film option." Olivia shook her head firmly. "I'm not interested in prolonging this drama. This was about justice, not publicity." A gentle knock interrupted them. Harriet entered with grocery bags, having used the key Olivia had given her. "I brought dinner and prenatal vitamins. The media is still camped outside, but they didn't recognize me." Patricia gathered her papers. "I'll leave you to rest. Remember, no direct contact with Marcus or his representatives. Everything through me." After the attorney left, Harriet unpacked containers of homemade food. "Richard Westbrook called the hospital foundation today. He's doubling his planned donation and specifically requested that some funds go toward your pediatric therapy program." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes, unexpected emotion after days of necessary stoicism. "That's surprisingly kind." "Not everyone is like Marcus," Harriet reminded her. "Some people still value integrity." She hesitated before adding, "That investment banker called the foundation too. Thomas Whitfield. He's offered pro bono financial consulting for families in the children's long-term care program." Olivia felt a flutter that wasn't entirely from her active baby. "That's thoughtful of him. He asked about you," Harriet added casually. "Not in a pushy way. He just wanted to know if you were okay." Olivia smiled faintly. "Maybe after everything settles. After the baby comes." That evening, as Olivia prepared for her first peaceful night's sleep in months, her phone chimed with a news alert. Vanessa Pierce posts public apology to Olivia Crawford Bennett, admits knowledge of affair. The accompanying video showed a tearful Vanessa, stripped of her usual perfect presentation, admitting her role in the deception and apologizing directly to Olivia and the innocent child who deserves better. Olivia turned off her phone without watching the full video. The fallen kingdoms of Marcus and Vanessa held no interest for her now. Her focus had shifted entirely to the future, her child, her career, and the authentic life she was reclaiming step by step. Phoenix Rising. 4 months later, spring sunshine streamed through the windows of Olivia's apartment as she gently rocked her 6-week-old daughter, Eleanor Patricia Crawford. The nursery walls displayed illustrations from children's books published by Crawford Publishing, a heritage Olivia had reclaimed completely after reverting to her maiden name. "She has your determination," commented Harriet, who had arrived with lunch and the latest updates from their social circle. "The nurses at the hospital said they'd never seen a newborn focus so intently." Olivia smiled, stroking Eleanor's dark curls. "Let's hope she got only my better qualities and none of her father's." Marcus had pleaded guilty to reduced charges, in exchange for cooperation against larger financial conspirators, receiving a 7-year sentence at a minimum security prison. The scandal had largely faded from headlines, replaced by newer dramas among the wealthy and powerful. Vanessa had rebranded herself as an advocate for authentic living, leveraging her public apology into a modest comeback centered on accountability and personal growth. Olivia had accepted the apology privately through intermediaries, but maintained firm boundaries against any direct contact. "The hospital board approved your proposal," Harriet announced, setting out containers of food. "The pediatric therapy expansion will break ground next month. They want to name it after Eleanor." Olivia shook her head. "No spotlights for my daughter. She deserves privacy and normalcy." The apartment intercom buzzed, announcing Thomas Whitfield's arrival. Over the past months, Thomas had become a steady presence in Olivia's rebuilding process. First as a financial advisor helping her untangle her assets from the Bennett collapse, then as a friend who respected her need for independence. "I brought the books we discussed," he said upon entering, setting down a stack of rare early editions from children's authors. As the grandson of a renowned bibliophile, Thomas shared Olivia's passion for literature. "And some ridiculous flowers because they made me think of spring." The arrangement was wildly colorful and distinctly unpretentious, nothing like the calculated designer bouquets Marcus had occasionally sent when appearances demanded it. "They're perfect," Olivia said, genuinely pleased. "Would you like to hold Eleanor while I heat up lunch? She just ate, so the risk of catastrophe is temporarily reduced." Thomas accepted the baby with surprising confidence for a bachelor. His investment firm had recently shifted focus toward ethical financing for education and health care, a change he admitted had been inspired partly by Olivia's dedication to her pediatric patients. As they shared lunch, conversation flowed easily between them, touching on books, Eleanor's development, and the community projects they had both become involved with. There was no pressure, no calculated positioning so common in their former social world. "I'm returning to work part-time next month," Olivia mentioned as they cleared the dishes together. "Just 2 days a week with my special needs children at the hospital. Eleanor will come with me. The hospital created a staff childcare room near my therapy space." Thomas nodded approvingly. "Your patients have missed you. That boy with the prosthetic arm, Julian, right? His mother stops by my office weekly to ask when Ms. Olivia is coming back." The fact that Thomas remembered her patients' names and stories reflected the authentic attention he brought to their friendship, something Olivia had come to value deeply. Later that afternoon, they walked through the botanical gardens, Eleanor sleeping peacefully in her stroller. Fellow visitors occasionally recognized Olivia from the scandal coverage, but respectfully kept their distance. "I've been offered a position on the Crawford Publishing Board," Olivia shared as they paused by a flowering cherry tree. "My cousin Daniel has been running it since grandfather died, but he thinks it's time I took a more active role." "Will you accept?" Thomas asked, without offering unsolicited advice, a refreshing change from Marcus's constant direction. "I'm considering it," she replied thoughtfully. "Publishing was my first love before therapy. Perhaps I can do both in some capacity, children's books that help with developmental challenges." Thomas smiled. "Bridging your worlds. That seems fitting." As they continued walking, Olivia reflected on the painful journey that had led to this peaceful moment. The public humiliation that had seemed devastating had ultimately freed her from a toxic marriage and forced her to reclaim her strength. "You know," she said, "when everything happened with Marcus, I thought I was fighting to punish him. But really, I was fighting for Eleanor's future, for her to grow up seeing integrity and authenticity valued." Thomas nodded, understanding the deeper significance. The best revenge isn't destruction, it's building something better from the ashes. As if on cue, Eleanor awakened, her eyes focusing intently on the dappled sunlight through the cherry blossoms. Olivia lifted her daughter, pointing to the delicate pink flowers. "Look, Eleanor. Spring always comes, even after the hardest winter." Thomas watched them together, maintaining a respectful distance while making his steady presence felt. There would be time for their relationship to evolve naturally, without rush or pressure. For now, it was enough to walk beside Olivia as she continued her remarkable rebirth, a phoenix rising from the ashes of betrayal into something far more authentic and beautiful than before. In the distance, a photographer from a society magazine captured the scene, not of scandal or humiliation this time, but of quiet resilience and new beginnings. The caption would simply read, "Olivia Crawford and daughter Eleanor enjoy the botanical gardens with friend Thomas Whitfield," but the image would tell a far more powerful story of transformation and hope.